What I did was I made up my own little graphic design survey, typed it up in Microsoft Word. So everything that you would normally do in Word, you've got it here. Name, just a bunch of underscores to fill in that. Typed out the little Webding font for the little checkbox. I'm wanting to ask for marital status. Now for this one, rather than actually writing it out, I want to give them a choice of married, single, divorced, widowed, that type of thing. You've also got the different little check boxes you can do. Let's see, I'll zoom back out. Yeah. Huh?
Check my Facebook.
Okay. What about Mississippi College appeals to you? Squirrels. So that's an option. Oh well. This would be, what do you consider the our department professors to be? Very informative. I got this from somebody's information. So I want them to choose, say, one of these options, but not more than one. And let's say I wanted them to rate a thing. And the final thing I want them to do is just to leave comments for this one. And so let's turn this into a PDF. Since I'm in Word, especially if you're working in a Macintosh, when you go to File and Save As, one of the options for the format is PDF. So first of all, you've got to make it a PDF, and I'll save it to the desktop. After that, we won't need the Word document anymore. So here's the PDF that we're going to pull from. Now here's the main thing to remember. You have to have Adobe Acrobat Pro to do this. The Acrobat Reader won't give you the options to create a fill-in form. So I'm going to drag it down to Acrobat Pro, and we'll open it up from here. At first, it's going to look like a regular PDF. Now, at this time, you can highlight stuff, but you cannot type or copy into it. To do this, we're going to have to pull up the form fields. To do that, find the tools, usually on the far right-hand side. If you don't see it, you can always go to View, and here's the tools over here, and you can choose Forms from here. But in my case, I'll choose Tools. One of the tool options are these different is to create a form. So look for something that says Forms, and I'll hit Create. Now the best part about especially Acrobat 11 is it does a lot of the work for you. It'll do everything automatically. The first options it's going to ask you to do is to create it from the current document that's open. We can do that. If you want to scan in one, like take a paper form that you've actually printed off, you can scan it in and it'll automatically do it. We'll hit Next. Use the current document. Everything else will be good. Say OK. First thing it did was it went through and it looked for everything that had a line underneath it, and it says once you're done editing, click Distribute. Everything, so name, so now I've got a text box right here. Address, got a box. These little boxes allow you to type in information. Additionally, it looked for anything that had a little square, so this will be a checkbox of information on it. Same way for these little check boxes. Right now it's just kind of in edit mode, so I can easily click and drag these around if I needed to. All that is a checkbox. I'll kind of go into more detail with that. And down at the bottom, it didn't fill in every bit of form, so I'm going to show you how you can type these in as well. Before I do that, let me show you this. Also on the right hand side, these are the list of all of the variables that you're collecting. So if I wanted their name, there's a name for the variable. Their address, city, zip code, phone number. If they've checked off employed or unemployed, any of the Christian atmosphere, any of these things. So these are all the bits of information that you're collecting. It's found on the right hand side. So let's go into here. So let's take this first name field. With it selected, if you double click on it, so this is just a text field. It allows you to type in any type of text that you want. Whenever you create a field, you have to give it a name, and this is going to be the name of the variable. So if you want to find someone's gender and you want them to type out male, or you want them to find certain information, whatever name you give it, that's the name of that variable. You can give it a tooltip, and this is for reading impaired type people. So if they are reading this in Braille or using voice over assist, that'll read off the name of that tooltip for them as well. I'll kind of get into some more of these properties in just a few minutes. You can change up the appearance of it. So if you want it to have a border, or if you want it to be filled in, you can do it at this time. You can set a specific font size. By default, it's chosen as auto. This isn't always preferred, but you can choose, let's say you want it to always be 12 point you can do it from there. There's other options I'll get into a little bit as far as alignment. You can give it a default value, so if you need someone to have something turned in, at least it'll give it a default value there. And there's some other little actions, won't go into it from here. Let's see, same thing for address, city, zip code. Here's another great thing. I'll tell you what, I'm going to hit preview and just kind of preview what this form will look like whenever I work on it. So under preview mode, you can now see I've got the form fields highlighted, so I can click on it and type in all the information, and I can even tab down. So 105 Main Street, tab over Clinton, tab over. If I typed in a zip code, now it's just a text field, so I can literally type in anything that I want. You can see it's resizing to adjust it from there. What I would like to do, since it's a zip code, is to have it automatically format just for zip code type stuff. So I'm going to click back on Edit. You can see it remembered the information. I'm going to double click on this one, bring up my properties, and I'll go into the options. Oops, excuse me. Yeah, here we are, format. Excuse me, we're going to format this one. This one is going to be a, I think it's under special. And one of the special options it can format is for a zip code. So I've chosen zip code now. Notice some other ones are phone number, social security number. These are just different ways people normally format different things. And I'm going to close it out. And so it's saved now as a zip code. So when I go back into preview, if I try to type out any other thing besides a number, it won't allow me to type in anything. If I try to type in more than 5 numbers, it won't allow more than 5 numbers. It's only going to allow me to type in a zip code. Pretty cool. Let's go back into edit mode. You can do the same thing for a phone number. So I'm going to double click on it. Under the format, it was under special. Yeah. We'll do a phone number. It keeps wanting to jump down. We'll hit close. So now, under the phone number field, if I try to type in any letters, not going to work. If I type in just random numbers, it won't allow me to type in more than the let's see, I think, oh yeah, there we go. You can even type in the zip code. Even when I deselect it, automatically formats it for you. That's really, really cool, really awesome that it'll be able to do that. We'll go back into edit mode. Okay, so that's just for making a form field, a text field that was automatically generated by the computer. Let me show you how if you wanted to make one for yourself, if for whatever reason it didn't put in a text field. I'm going to jump down to the bottom. I want to make a text field where they can add their own comments, as many comments as possible. To add a field, it's off on the right hand side, so add new field. It's going to be a text field, and you can see these are all the different options to choose from. Some of them I've never used, but with that one chosen, you can click and drag and add where you want the box to be. You can make it any size that you want, and the first thing it's going to ask you to do is to give it a field name, so I'm just going to call this one comments. If you clicked on all properties, this will bring up your properties dialog box again. And just like the other one, you can give it a tooltip name, so just for good time's sake, we'll do that. Change up the appearance. Now for the appearance, I'm going to change this back to auto size. And I'll show you why it's a bad idea to have it automatically selected. Let's see, I'll hit close. I'll hit preview. With auto, it's automatically going to adjust the size of it based on the size of the text that you're doing. See how it changes up the size as I add on to it? It's not exactly what I wanted to do. So we'll go back into edit and re-edit this one. I'll put that back down to 12 point. Another thing, especially if you have a large text box, you'll want to turn on multi-line so that people can add multiple lines to the same thing, and I take off scrolling long text. So now, if I hit close and preview it, I can go in and actually add one line of text and hit return and hit multiple lines of text, which is what I couldn't do previously on there. Make sense? All cool? All right. So that's pretty much what you need to know for text fields. If you wanted to add, say, marital status, I wanted to have multiple variables that they can choose from. Well, multiple options, but they choose one. This is where the form field for a drop-down will be chosen from. Works the same as a text field. I'll zoom out, click and drag to make the size of the box that you want it to be. Give it a name, so I'm going to call this marital. Then we'll open up the properties. Under the properties, same thing, you can do this. You can go to, under options, this is where you're going to add the multiple items that you want within this field. So every item will be, let's say, married. It's going to export the value of, in my case, I just want it to be married. You can type in a number. So if you wanted married to be equal to number 1, you can do it that way. But for now, I'm just going to export that. We'll say add. So it's adding that one. Let's see, single, and divorced. We'll hit add that. You can see now it's adding each of these to the line that you want. If you click sort, it'll automatically do them all in alphabetical order, whether you want it or not. Or you can easily choose them and move it up and down based on the position in that list from there. We'll hit close. So from here, to preview it, we'll turn on preview. So now, if I want to know their marital status, they can click the down arrow, choose between the options that I have from there. Now they got their marital status turned in from it that way. Works really, really well. For your checkboxes, they're going to work just as you would normally think a checkbox would. So you're either employed or unemployed. Uh-oh. See, now I've got a problem with this one. You're either one or the other, but you can't be both. The computer automatically saw this as a checkbox, but what I want to do is to be able to choose between one or the other. So actually it doesn't need to be a checkbox at all. So I'm going to go back into our edit mode. I'm going to delete these out of the way. Instead of a checkbox, you're going to want what's called a radio button. Radio button allows you to choose between multiple sets, but doesn't allow you to choose more than one set. So the same thing, we'll just click and drag over this one. It's going to ask you to, first of all, give it a choice and also name of the group. So I'm going to call this one employed. The group, so these two options would be one group. So I'm going to call the group name employment. Okay? So option 1 is for employment. You need to have at least 2 options. Here's how to quickly make a copy of it. Hold down your option key, and when you click and drag, it's going to make a copy of that one. So I'm going to double click. And the name of this one is unemployed. No, wait, I'm sorry. Under options, go to options. Instead of employed, unemployed. Because it's going to be under the employment. Now when you choose. You can even look over here. You can see here's the options for it, 1 or 2. So now if I preview it, and I try to check off one, and then the other, it's going to automatically deselect that one to the other. You don't have to be stuck with the round radio button, by the way. If you bring up your appearance, the button style can be a circle, could be a checkbox. Let's do the same thing for this one. Circle, checkbox. Close it out. So now when I preview it, it'll actually check off whichever one that I want it to be from there. Pretty cool? Alright, pretty cool. These other checkboxes should work out just fine. You can check multiple things. Just like the other ones, if you don't want to have the little squares that are kind of just the default font, you can go back in. They can be checks or X's or circles or whatever you want it to be. You can even change up the color of it as well. But people can choose multiple ones from there. That's the main purpose of using a checkbox. For this one, so I want them to choose 1 of 3. This is where the radio button would come in handy. You could also have them choose from a list of things if you didn't want to type these out. But same thing. I'll just keep it as default choice 1, 2, or 3. But we're going to change the group name to question 2. Okay. There, or there. And so now very quickly I've got 3 different options for question 2. You can see it over here. So there's question 2, choice 1, 2, or 3, whichever one people choose from there. Now for question 3, what I want them to be able to do is to click on any of the numbers and have it cross out which number that they chose. This is where your checkbox would really come in handy. So I'm going to choose a checkbox. I'll zoom in. What I'm going to do is just format one of these. I'm going to highlight, say, number 1. We'll call this, we'll just keep it default for now. And so for its appearance, I'm going to make it completely invisible, no fill, no stroke. But for the options, I want it to be, say, a cross. It's going to export the value instead of yes. We'll export the value in this case of 1. Close. Just now notice that 1 is excellent and 5 is very bad. Usually you should swap that around. It's a little, 5 should be excellent. Holding down my option key, I can just make multiple copies of it. Now all I have to do is go back in and change out the export value. So this would be export value of 3. And you'll see why export value is going to come in handy once we actually make one. Here's another common problem that a lot of people do. I've made multiple copies of this one. They've all have the same name. So when I go to preview, if I click on one, well, if they're all named the same thing, then they'll all be checked off. Let's see if I can get it to do that one. Let's see. So name of this one, checkbox 10. I see. Huh. Usually if they have the same name, if you check off one, it'll check off all of them. For whatever reason, it's not working this time. But y'all can take my word for it. Oh, I know why. Because this was a...
It's got a number different one.
It does have a number differently.
0, 1, 2, 4.
Huh. Maybe it realized that I wanted a different checkbox from there. Maybe that's something different on there. Main thing to take from it is make sure you name them something different each time, else it will fill in 2 different things. Just for the heck of it, I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a text field. I'm going to call this test 1. Make another text field. Call it test 1 as well. Alright. So 2 of them, test 1, test 1. Let's see what happens when I type something in here. ASDF automatically types it into that one as well. So if you did want, say, to someone to fill out their name once on a form, they fill it out once, and every other place that has to put their name, as long as it has the same information, it'll automatically fill it out in that one. So that's just another great little time saver thing that you can.
Does it have the possibility of recognizing if you have typed in something before, like if you fill out online forms, it'll do the auto fill in? Or is that gonna just
No.
be code?
Yeah, that would have to be a code thing to do. Yeah.
Just curious, because I noticed how it typed in the same thing there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess if you had your zip code in one part,
Yep.
and you had to do it again in the other,
Exactly.
then it could do the same.
Exactly, yeah. As long as it's in the same document. Now, if it's another document that you may have opened up some other time, it's not going to remember. It's just going to be for this PDF by itself. Good question. All right, so we've kind of typed in all the information that we want to have here. One last thing, and this is really, really cool that you can do with it. You can actually add buttons to your document that allows a little more interactivity. So I want to add a button up here at the top that allows people to print off this document. So I'll go up to here, and we'll choose button. Now even though I don't have a button designed on here, I can still click and drag out, and I'll call this the print button. We'll hit properties. This one, so for the form field, it's going to be visible. One of the options is I want it to be visible, but I don't want it to print. I just want it to be something that's seen but not printed off. And you can have hidden and printable type things for different purposes. I'll go to the appearance. Let's just give it a color, orange. Font size is good. Under options, it's going to be labeled. The behavior is, is it going to invert it, or is it just going to be like a push button? We'll keep it like that. But I'm going to call this one print for the label. So that's what's going to show up on the button itself to be labeled. If you do make a specific icon, like a little printing icon, This is, you can choose like a label and an icon or an icon only. You can upload that specific icon to that one as well. Here's where the fun part comes in. Under Actions, as soon as you let go of the mouse is up, you've triggered it, it's going to execute. What I want to do is to execute a menu item. Now you can do some different stuff. You can open up web links, you can have it play a sound or play a movie. If you know some JavaScripting, you can do some really fun interactive things for that. There's even a thing for resetting the form. So if you wanted one button to completely wipe out all the information you've done, you can do it from there. What I want to do is I want to do a menu item. So in other words, if it's something that's up here in the menu, I want it to go to File and choose Print and bring up my print dialog box. So for this one, execute a menu item. We're going to add it. It's going to ask me what menu item do I want to do. So the one I want is under File and Print. So we've got it chosen. We'll hit OK. So this is going to kind of tell you what it's going to do. And we'll hit Close. And so now I've kind of got that up at the top. So we'll hit Preview. You can see now I've got my Print button up here. I can choose my employment, whatever I want. I'll choose that. Things are average. All this is good. So I've filled out my form. I'm going to hit the Print button. After a second, my Print dialog box comes up. I'll hit Print. Let's see what comes out. Now when this prints, it should print like normal, but it shouldn't have the little button up at the top. Hopefully this worked. I don't know, I've done this many times, I'm sure. This is really cool for like in classes, you can give someone a test and you can say, okay, you choose your, A, B, or C, and they can, if you do it right, you can have it tally up the correct answers or incorrect answers, gives them a grade. You can have the correct answer chosen as a hidden but printable option on there, so when they print off their test, they can see what's correct and what the correct answer was from there. So, let's see. Unload output tray. What does that mean? What I'm going to do is I'm going to get you guys for tonight, so make sure you understand this, so you can use it later. I want you guys to make up, okay? So here's my form that I printed off. Notice the print button's not there. And this is something that they could easily print off, turn back into as well. Very easy, very simple. It takes a little bit more prep time on your end, but it saves them a lot more time in filling it out on their end, because they can do it all on their screen as well. Let me show you the last thing. If they need to email you this document, it's not as simple as saving this PDF and sending it to them. Adobe's got to make it hard. So I'll go back into my preview. When you're done making the form, if everything is perfect, the last thing you need to do is click on the Distribute button. It's going to ask you, make sure it's saved. We'll hit Save. And we'll replace it. Some form fields are, yeah, we're good. Also, make sure there's no values typed in any of the fields. You want to clear those out. Adobe's going to ask you, how are you going to distribute this? Now, they've got 3 different ways you can do it. You can put it on the Adobe server, and they'll take care of all the responses and sending it out to people. Or you can do it yourself. Actually, there's 2 ways. Or you can send out the form yourself to do it. For ours, we're just going to hit Next. Oh, I'm sorry. No, we don't want to automatically. We want to manually collect in response. We want to do this ourselves. And now we'll hit Next. Next option is we're going to either send it out automatically. Nope. I want to save it to my own computer. And we'll do this to the desktop. I like to save it just in a new folder. So we'll call this Graphic Design Form. Okay. I'm going to save a copy of it, and you'll see why, to a new folder. We'll hit Next. Sometimes it'll ask you for an email address. It's required, so I'll just put ib@mc.edu. I'll hit Next as well. And it's going to ask you, your delivery method's going to be manual, so we'll finish it up and go from there. Okay. Almost done. So now I've got a folder on my desktop, and I've actually got the graphic design PDF that we edited. This PDF that we have is the one that if you need to make changes, you change it up to. In the folder that I created, there's two different PDFs. There's the graphic design survey distributed, and then there's the responses PDF. This is where it gets really cool. The distributed one, this is the one you're going to send out to everybody. So you would actually maybe want to rename it, just take off distributed, call it graphic design survey. This is one that people cannot edit, they can only put their information into. Does that make sense? So if they have Acrobat Pro, they won't be able to change it up. The responses PDF, I'll open this one up. This is kind of a glorified Excel spreadsheet. Whenever you send out your PDFs to people and you want to get back their responses, all those little form fields that they filled in, you dump it into your responses PDF document. Let's see, so you can hit get started. And so let's quickly fill one out. So I'll just type this in, numbers, phone numbers. And all that. Now hit save. Okay, so I've filled out my PDF. I can dump this survey into here, and it will automatically fill out all of the responses that you got from people. Who it is, the date it was received, and so every time they fill out their name, their address, their city, answers to question number 2, what was their choice for it. This is a way of collecting your information and keeping track of everything very, very quickly. This is what I did at the Baptist building when people had to send in their information for Eli. This is how I collected all the information from there. On the left-hand side, you've got filters. So if you only want to see, their names, you can filter it by their name, and if it contains or doesn't contain certain things from there as well. But essentially, this is an Excel spreadsheet of all the responses that you got. That's a great way if you're sending out a million different things, you can get them back, and this does all the work for you as far as collecting those responses. Any questions? So, it's everything you needed to know about creating your own Acrobat PDFs, interactive PDFs.